Okay, to finish off your animation project, once you have all your frames in place, you have all your timing down where you want it. You gotta check any last minute weirdness in your frames. That's why you can go frame by frame and see. See how it kind of flickers on and off there? You just delete frames you don't think you need. Change your timing. Add in other layers. Bits of opacity. Can always obscure through texture fills as well. Always handy. Nice to have a gray fill here. Okay. See how this looks. Remember, you can program all your different opacities in. All right, that's not too bad. It gets a little clumsy at the end, so maybe I'll just edit it. The more frames you can get out, the better. I think I'll just let it end on getting very gray. So it's going to take out those last frames. You don't want to make the endings more interesting or more distracting than the actual animations, right? Keep your story in mind, the loop. So I always go back to my storyboard and I want to get to an eruption and then getting off to a starting position. So it goes to there. Maybe this starts to slowly come in. Lower opacity. Build a transition between these two. Slow that down. Kind of emergence from the flames. And now I've got to link that back with my first frame. See how we like this. This one, that's 29%. Lots of final tinkering. Good. Now from that to the first, let's just build in 15 frames. Okay. I think I want to slow all of this down a little bit from when it really blasts out. Take that down to 5 seconds, or 0.05 seconds. Talk about very subtle changes. Good. All right. So now it's all about this eruption and his reveal. So once you have the animation where you want it, you can tinker until the very end. Animation's a dangerous thing. It just can take so long. Get all these transitions you want. But next we're going to simplify it, so there's not so many layers the computer has to deal with. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to say, first save it as a PSD. And then we're going to flatten our frames from our layers. So we go here, we go to our very top layer, and we say flatten frames into layers. It will show us how many frames we have. I have 112. It's a little bit of an overkill there. I take everything underneath frame 1 and I delete it from my layers. Make sure my animation plays the way I think it should. And I'm going to save this now as a TIFF file, because this doesn't have any overlapping frames at all. It's just showing each layer at 100% opacity. Makes it a lot easier to edit and play with later. Okay, so now file, save as, everything the same except it's going to be a TIFF with LZW compression. Once that's done, I'm going to output it as my GIF file. Now, because mine is so large, I'm going to take its image size down before I do that, and I'm going to make it just 6 by 6 inches by 100 pixels per inch, which is still plenty big, because I'm trying to save up on memory. So if I view it actual pixels, so 100%, it's this big, and it still plays through nicely. Now the problem with GIF animations is it's going to limit the colors, because that's how GIF saves space. So I go to File, and instead of just Save As, because if I do Save As and I say a GIF, a GIF format, CompuServe GIF, it will actually flatten and just give me one image. So I have to save it with the animation script intact. So instead I say File, Save for Web. And Save for Web means that it will keep the animation script in the code. And I want it optimized. And I want it selective. And I want it on quality to be bicubic smoother. I want the colors to be 256 colors. And I want to preview it at 100%. So let's play it through and see how it looks. Pretty good. Actually, now that I'm seeing this, I'm thinking I can speed up something really fast. all the little sputtering and stuff kind of slows down my animation. So let me start that. Where does that start? Yeah, around frame 15. So I'm going to take it from there all the way to here. I'm going to speed that up to being 0.01 second. This should make quite a bit of a difference, actually, in how quickly we get to that eruption. Yeah, that's better. All right. So it's nice to be able to make those changes as a TIFF. So now I say, I'm going to save it as my TIFF. And then I'm going to say save for web. It will remember all your settings. You can play it through, make sure you like it with the limited colors, but it does a pretty good job selecting colors if you use selective. And they'll show up nicely. Now it might play through a little slow here. And then we just say save. And you save it to the desktop as this kind of GIF file or GIF file. And then you test it by viewing it in a web browser. Okay, so now here's my GIF. I'm going to say open with Safari or some other web browser. It's going to open up the web browser. And we'll show you how it will play online. And it should, if it loads completely, it should show you all the right timing. All right, so there we are. Now, how do we make a storyboard of it? Because the GIF file is what you're going to upload along with your sketch. So how do I make a storyboard? I go back to my TIFF. I now have them all in flattened frames. And I look at my storyboard and I think, okay, what's the middle frame? What's going to be, for me, that eruption scene? Let me see. It's not necessarily the middle panel, but it might be something like that. Like that shows the eruption with the big light coming through. So this is going to be my center frame. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say canvas size. Actually, no, scratch that. I'm going to open up a new file. File, new. I'm going to make this 12 by 12 inches. You see how this works? At 350 pixels per inch. And I'm going to call it my final storyboard. Not my sketch, my final. Swoop that out. Okay, and I'm going to bring this center frame over. So it's frame 61. Put it over. And it's pretty small. So let me do it this way. It depends on the size you have to make it in order to make your GIF animation work. So let me crop right to it. Because the only way to center something for sure in Photoshop is to grow your space around it. So now also image canvas size. And I basically have 2 by 2 inches. So I want it to be enough space on the side for 2 more, 1 on each side, plus a little bit of space. So let me do it 10 inches wide, 10 inches tall. White is the extension color. And by doing that, I now have this dead center, and I'm going to use my move tool to put guides down.